Hello, hello, hello. We are live, and we are live on Twitter and Facebook on Israel Video Network, and this is the one and only Avi Yemini, folks. This is the first time we're meeting. Right? Avi and Avi, double right, trouble. Left double punch trouble. You got here. And you are, I don't know how many, if you do not know Avi Yemini, look him up. You got to start following Avi Yemini wherever he is. Powerful force, powerful voice, unbelievable videos, getting the truth out there to support and save the freedom-loving world. He knows the deal. He knows what's going on. Welcome to Israel, Avi. How's it going, man?
Love Israel. Thank you for the warm welcome. And it's always, even though your weather at the moment is pretty average, but there's never a bad time to be here.
Never, never. And you know, like you were here for the rain. You got some of the rain in already?
Thanks for reminding me.
Well, you don't like the rain? But wait a second. The beauty of Israel is one day you can have freezing rain, and the next day you can go out in short-sleeve shirts.
Absolutely. I've been like that the whole week. But it's a bit like Melbourne. Where I come from, it's like that 100% of the time. Yeah, it's so I'm used to it. But it's an interesting time of the year to be.
100%. Yeah. Now, first I want to start with this. For people who don't know you, why do you call yourself the proudest, Australia's proudest Jew? I just want to hear that. Right? I'm going with Avi, and he told me, yeah, I'm Australia's proudest Jew. That's why. Give me a story. What's the deal?
The fact is that, look, it triggers a lot of people that I am a proud Jew. I'm culturally.
I love it. I'm a big supporter of Jews being proud of their Jewish identity.
I'm culturally a Jew. Do I believe in God? That's a different question that I'm willing to have with Chabadniks over a few lachaims at a Fabrangan. But when it comes to my heritage, I think so many people before us have literally, Hitler didn't discriminate against the Jew that believed in God and the one that doesn't. Sure. So I think it is important that every single Jew or anyone that has Jewish blood stand up and be proud of it. And on the flip side of it, the left gets so frustrated when they see me, especially, a lot of the time, if I'll go to an event, and you'll see on a lot of my videos, when I go into situations where I know there are going to be protesters or the left are going to analyze and try to criticize me, they're going to call me a Nazi. And I just think it just exposes the irony so clearly for most normal people to see a brown, my family is Yemen, Russian, Polish, like, I've got everything. Wearing a kippah. Yet they still call him a Nazi. Why? Because he has slightly differing opinions about political and social issues.
Because you're a proud Jew. And because you're proud of the authentic Jewish identity and your history, and they're running away from it. And it's funny that you mentioned in terms of brown and colored, because one of the messages I give to everyone is like, Jews are not white. We're Jews.
Well, that is actually the Arab narrative. Do you know, whenever I engage with Arabs on the Middle East conflict, on Israel, they always say, go back to Germany or go back to Poland, I go, Habib, my family's from Yemen. The only reason why my family ran here is because your people who follow your scriptures chased my family out.
That's right, from Yemen.
So that narrative is actually so false, and I don't think, sadly, I don't think the Jewish community actually defends it strong enough, because too often they have this like Holocaust guilt. And I find it, especially within Australian Jewry, the leadership there, they accept this narrative, which is actually false. Like, if you look at Israel, if you come here, you will see, I don't know the stats off Bahar, but I'm guessing
we're
it's
50-50. Genetic European Jewry are a minority, less than 50%. Majority of Jews in Israel
Let's even agree that it's 50. Right. It means that your story doesn't even make sense.
Right. Because we're not white. We're not white, we're not brown, we're not black, we're not yellow, we're not purple. We're every color because we're Jews from Judea, from here. That is our identity.
And the only reason we ended up in any of these countries is because we got kicked out of Judea.
Exactly. And again, I want to connect with like the non-Jewish viewers out there. Like what we're talking about, even right now, we're Jewish-centric, but it's such an important message for everyone. Be proud of your identity. Don't lose it. Don't allow culture and modernity to eat up and steal away the identity of that you come from, your parents, grandparents, great-grandparents. Be proud of where you come from. Don't throw it away.
I think Jewish history should be a lesson for all.
100%.
If we look at what's going on in the entire Western world at the moment, you should be taking the lessons of Jewish history and saying, you'd realize, if you just look at it and analyze it and realize that it's history repeating itself, and then it was only the Jews, it's happened to the Jews numerous times, now it's happening to the entire West.
Exactly.
And I think people are waking up, thankfully.
Little by little. Not quick enough. Little by little.
I'd agree with that statement. I don't think it's happening quickly enough, and I still think the labels are sticking and people are allowing, it's hard. I get it. Like some of my closest friends that I have today, they do stand up and they do get labeled. And you know what? If I was an Anglo-Christian, a middle-aged white man, as they say, I don't know if I would be as confident in defending myself against those labels. And what I keep trying to tell people is, if you're not actually a racist, if you're not actually a neo-Nazi, if you don't fall for all these rubbish conspiracy theories that we all have heard from the beginning of times, but if you're actually about the issues and you're worried about it, don't worry about the labels, because look, they will call a Jew wearing a kippah, they'll call Ben Shapiro a Nazi.
Right, exactly.
And he is the most Jewy Jew there is.
Exactly. I had a conversation with journalists from Hungary, right? And they were saying that everyone's attacking us, that we're supporters of the current Hungarian government, which is the most pro-Jewish, pro-Israel government Hungary has ever had, right? And they're being attacked because they support him. And they said, what are we supposed to say? Everyone says we're anti-Semites because he's an anti-Semite, right? I said, don't change what you're saying. You continue telling the truth. That's the way you're going to beat them. You're not necessarily going to change their minds, but you're going to get the truth out there for those people who are open-minded enough and don't run away just because they're going to pull out the anti-Semitism card anytime they have nothing else to say. That's their last
ironically,
card.
if you look around the world and you look at the administrations or governments that get labelled as anti-Semites or neo-Nazis, they're all the most pro-Jewish.
Today, right?
Today. I'm talking about today.
100%.
And it's... I don't know if in history we've experienced something like this or this is something new, but sometimes I sit there and I go, what is it? How do people get fooled by the idea that the most pro-Jewish people, like the people that are actually going to stand... Like, I was actually on my way a few weeks ago to go speak at a German rally where they get labelled as the new Nazi group.
And they're supporters of Israel.
You go to the crowd, there were more Israeli flags in that crowd than anyway.
Right.
How?
Right.
How do you have the chutzpah, how do you have the audacity to stand up and label them the Nazi while standing shoulder to shoulder with people like Linda Sarsour?
Right. And here you're talking about people who are intelligent. And let's put the cards on the table. Yes, anti-Semitism exists on the far right in Germany and in Hungary.
Absolutely.
But please, if you're an intelligent person, figure out who are the real anti-Semites and who might be on the right, but they're not, and they're your friends. And use your smart brain to differentiate. But they're not. You want to know why? Because it goes back to what we were talking about before. Identity. They have switched the pride in their Jewish identity to be an identity of something else, to be a person of the world, to be a liberal, to be an elite, to be progressive, and they've lost their true Jewish identity, so they're not using their mind anymore to differentiate between who our true enemies are and who aren't.
I think that's an important point you make, because I'm not going to sit here and say that there's no anti-Semitism on the right. Absolutely, you know what? I'm the number one victim of anti-Semitism in Australia, from both sides.
From both sides. And we're always going to have it from both sides.
You know what? From three sides. I get it from the far right. Yeah.
I know where you're going.
Who push the exact same narrative, the exact same conspiracy theories as the left, the far left, and the Islamic community.
Exactly, those are the three
They're
things.
all in bed together.
Yep.
They protect, like these far rights. They think they're so clever, and they've been what they call red pilled, and they've worked it all out, and it's got all. And the fact is, they're actually speaking from the same book as the jihadis, as the leftists,
Yep.
and I think when our community stand up, especially in the diaspora. In Israel, I find that people are a little bit more open to
Correct.
actually having these conversations without labeling you. But within, and it's not even just the general community. I find that within my own community in Australia, the everyday person, they actually get what I'm saying. It's those that are clinging on, the elitists that are clinging on to this power, and they're acting like the, interfaith community is so important, and they're better. You know what? I know some of the lead rabbis in Australia. They tell me that in all their interfaith things, it ends up being Christians, Jews, Sikhs, and then the Muslims are on the side playing their cards, playing their cards tight holding their cards tight to their chest, because there is fundamental issues there. And if you're going to stand up for your country, just understand, like, if you're gonna start feeding into conspiracy theories, and like, I'm not the biggest fan of many conspiracy theories. Obviously, there are conspiracies in the world. That's how governments operate.
Right.
But as soon as you start feeding into them, understand your conspiracy theory, and make sure that the conspiracy theory that you're pushing is not fed to you by your biggest enemy, because that's exactly what I find is happening.
Right. And the other message I know you're going to agree with that I push out there is it's totally Orwellian. Everything's been flipped. Because we're called the extremists, we're called the rightists, we're called the ones who are against peace, against human rights, right? We care more about the peaceful, loving Muslims than those who call themselves liberal, progressives, human rights activists, peace activists. It's by following our advice that peace will come quicker and lives will be saved, and those Muslims who truly want to live in peace will be saved, because they're being terrorized and persecuted by their own terrorizing Muslim communities.
Absolutely.
And the progressive community, by being silent and calling out Islamophobia, they are endangering any of those Muslims who truly do want to live in peace with the Western freedom-loving
Ask any
world.
Muslim that I've ever sat down with, ever, and I'm talking about ones that have come to you in a combative way, any of them, I will engage all of them, and I will sit as
you gotta watch his videos, guys. He engages them all. Everybody.
If you watch my original videos, I may have been too combative. I've learnt over time to actually just feed people the rope and let them hang themselves.
Okay.
But the point that I'm trying to make is that the problem is not a people. It's not Muslims. It's not a person. Because I'll put this argument to you that 90% of Muslims, even more, 90% of Muslims and 90% of practicing Muslims don't actually understand their own faith. I come from an ultra-Orthodox Jewish family. I know that when I grew up, I knew how I need to dress. I knew how I need to talk. I knew how I need to act. I didn't understand anything within my own faith. I didn't know it. Right. Now, when you put some of these arguments to these Muslims, which I've done, they don't actually know that in their Quran it says this and this and this. They don't know. They don't know the hadith that talks about the final day of judgment where all the Jews are going to be, and they can't defend it. They say they will not defend it. And you go, well, so then are you saying that the Quran is not the absolute word of God and it should be changed? Are you saying Muhammad is not the perfect man? Suddenly there's a conversation there to be had. So my argument is that it's not about the individual.
Correct.
It is about the ideology.
Correct.
And if you can sit there and talk about ideas, which we should be able to discuss any idea, and Judaism's not off the table. I think there are some Jewish concepts which are not, but you know what? There are no Jews flying freaking planes into buildings. There are no Jews beheading people. There are no Jews throwing gays off buildings. And if you don't like Judaism, if you don't enjoy that community, do what I did. Walk away. And nobody's going to hurt you if you just walk away. Can't be said the same about Islam. So there are fundamental
Right, if you
issues.
Walk away, then you're
an apostate. And
then
that's it. You are open to be killed by anyone. And that's the thing. So I think that we need, as a community, to stop this, and I'm going to come back because I is a Jewish
audience,
both
Jewish and non-Jewish. Go for it.
But I think as a Jewish community, and I think the wider community also need to hear that there are Jews standing up saying, "Stop comparing us," because that's what always happens in any conversation. You will see Jews turn around and say to you, within the leadership especially, going, "Oh well, Jews have a similar idea that is," and it's going, where do you think Muhammad took it from? If you take somebody's concepts and then infuse it with violence and conquest, they might be similar. Jews have the idea of Meiser, which is to give you 10% to charity.
To give to charity,
yeah.
Right.
And the Muslims have zakat. It's a lot less, by the way.
Oh, yeah?
It's a lot less. It's a lot less than 10%, but when you look into what it means, you have to, an eighth of your zakat, you've got to be funding Islamic armies fighting jihad,
right,
which we call in the West funding terrorism. You've got to you've got to give another eighth to the families of martyrs, which we again call funding terrorism.
Right.
So they might be similar concepts, and you might sit there and say, well, I'm religious, and I think that if we attack them on those ideas, then they're going to come for me next. You're fooling yourself.
Right.
Because you don't have to worry about those attacks, because those people that they are criticizing and questioning the ideas about, they're going to hit you before anyone comes for you.
Right.
And it's happening. You look anywhere in the world, when terror strikes, when it strikes properly, they always, look at Mumbai, look at the main attacks that you know about are when they hit in Mumbai, the hotel. But they also went to the Jewish synagogue on the side. So if you're a Jew and you think appeasing is going to somehow protect you, which is exactly what the leadership in Melbourne, Australia,
that's what the progressive leadership.
They say to me, Avi, you're putting
you're endangering.
You're putting what is it called, a target on our backs. I go, listen, Habib,
right.
I will take responsibility for the last 3 years. But for the other 1,400, I got nothing to do with it.
Great line.
Islam has been attacking Jews, and now they're coming for conquest for the entire West.
Right.
And we're in this together. And unless we...
Right.
Yeah, and you're right. I think you're right in what you said before, is I do see a shift, and a lot of it's thanks to the whole Trump era, but I also feel like it may be too little. It's coming too slowly, and people need to stand up and not be afraid to speak out. And as long as you know you're doing it for the right reason, and you're targeting ideas, not people.
Right. 100%. So for those of you who just joined, I am sitting here with Avi Yemini, who likes to call himself Australia's proudest Jew. Now, before we go any more, because there's so much to talk about, and really enjoy the meeting of the minds talking to you, and I wish you were here more often so we could do more stuff together. Who are you, Avi Yemini? Who are you? I mean, again, if you just look him up, just Google him with our Facebook, Twitter, YouTube.
These days I'm on mainly YouTube. Actually, I've been enjoying Instagram lately.
Instagram.
But Instagram's been fun, but that's more just my shenanigans.
Plenty of viral videos out there. Unfortunately, Facebook closed them down. But who are you? Okay. Why did you get into doing this video stuff, standing up for what we believe, and I believe to be the truth, to be able to protect the freedom-loving world from the reality around us?
So I volunteered to the Israeli army in 2005, and I served in the Golani Brigade.
So did I.
Where were you?
I was 12
Masayat?
Yeah? So I was 12 and then became Palchan.
Where were you in 12?
Everywhere. I was in Gaza. I served in 94.
Where, Masayat?
No, I didn't get to Masayat. They sent us to Palchan afterwards. But I served back in 93 to 96. I was in Gaza, Lebanon, and everything. Yeah, I'm a little old. But Golani, Achim Neshek. I was saved in the same unit, just a couple of years apart.
I bet you in his time he was the only Ashkenazi in the unit. See, like, when you look at me, I fit the profile. Anyways, for those of you who understand the units, you'll get it. So I served in the army. Now, I came back to Australia, and I started IDF gyms. They were around Krav Maga. They were very popular gyms. And in one of the Gaza operations, And I wasn't very political. I wasn't left, right. I didn't really care. I was apathetic, like most of it.
It's good. Yeah.
I was apathetic like most people, which is the problem. I think.
Right.
I don't even think the left is our biggest problem. I think apathy is our biggest enemy because most people just don't realize.
I just want to get home. Do my work. Come
Absolutely.
home. Kiss
And
the
that's
wife
why
and
it is so
kids.
important for every single person that is out there watching this stuff to actually talk to your neighbor, because you need to encourage them to care.
Right.
That's our biggest block. And what happened was I saw the reporting in Australia from our mainstream media about what was happening in Gaza. And most of my service, I served in the Second Lebanon War, but most of my service was on the Gaza Strip after the disengagement. And I know what the reality was there. And it wasn't what they were telling us on the TV, and they were feeding Australians with this idea that the mean, bullying Israeli army. So I started to comment and to give perspective and start a conversation in Australia using the platforms of my gyms, which were very popular. And I found it interesting because people really engaged with the conversations. It was a hot topic at the time.
What this is engaging? What this is in person? This is on the internet?
No, this was the internet. So this was our Facebook was very big at the time, and this was 2000. What would it have been? 2011. No, this is after I got back, and we'd started the gyms, and they were very. So people started to engage. And then after the operation, I lost a lot of people from the gyms. But I was just sitting there going, guys...
Because of your politics? Because you were vocal?
Because I was vocal about... And this was about the Israeli operations in Gaza. These were IDF gyms teaching Krav Maga. So I made public statements going, guys, if you don't support Israel, or if you have a problem with me explaining what's happening there, leave. I don't even need your money in my IDF gyms teaching you Krav Maga.
Wow.
I don't care. You know, I think it should have been pretty evident where we stand by the name and what you're learning.
Meaning the name was actually called IDF
training. IDF training, learning Krav Maga, which is the self-defense system of the Israeli army, which is based on the entire IDF mentality.
Right.
It teaches you how to survive in situations that seem... And it also teaches you about all the concepts are exactly how the IDF operates.
Right. Just so you know, every time I do reserve duty, I still do I just did reserve duty 2 weeks ago. We always get Krav Maga lessons just to be better prepared for where the situations we're going into.
So then from there, I think I kind of found a voice, and I enjoyed kind of having my opinion. I'm one of 17 kids. I'm the middle child. So,
you look like you're pretty natural with your voice.
So I think I found my voice. I was actually, if you watch my first interviews, I was very nervous. And anyone out there, I was nervous. People think I'm naturally, I remember my heart just running like that. And I was I was always good with people, but I wasn't good on camera. So I just started, I kept on just kind of voicing my opinion on political and social issues. And I got some constructive criticism from people that are fans, but they said to me, Avi, maybe don't use your business to push, gender, or whatever it was.
All these other issues.
And I said, you know what, you're right, fair enough. I got excited by the guys, and we got conversation, and it was, so I opened an Avi Yemini Facebook page, and within months I had 100,000 people following it and engaging in all these conversations, not just about Israel. Now, obviously, Israel's close to my heart, and I think Israel's central to many of the issues we're seeing worldwide. And it is a driving force for me because I think the moment we get people to understand this conflict, we're going to solve all the other issues in the West.
100%.
So I started talking there. Now, obviously, when I got too big,
influential,
the left started a campaign against my page, and Facebook
closed me down. Yeah, the censorship of Big Brother Facebook.
So then I opened a new page, and then within weeks I had 60,000. They closed that one down. Now I've got a new one. But I've realized, you know what? It's not about what platform. It's more about the content. People, no matter where I post it now, people are going to find it. That's why now I just share it all over everything. and people will find it. You know, that they can YouTube demonetized me. Look, at the end of the day, the issues, and that's what I said before about talking about it. It's just go. The information's out there. People are talking about it. Get it out there, and anyone at home is also, you know, you guys have these websites that I recognize them from a few years ago because I started watching the content. Not necessarily, doesn't matter which platform it was shared on.
And we're dealing with the same issues, like the constant shutting down of YouTube, Google, Facebook, problems on Twitter, closing down accounts. We're all being censored here and there, and it's about no matter what, not giving up, but continuing with the content and trying to get the message out there to the people. 100%.
So that's how I got here, and
so I have a different question then. Again, you gotta Google Avi Yemini and check out his old videos, newer videos. What is your favorite video? What is your favorite of yours of everything you've done? And again, he's done stuff in Australia. He's done stuff. He's gone to London and done stuff on Brexit and Tommy Robinson and the terror in England and in Europe and Israel related issues. What is the favorite video of yours?
Look, because I've watched myself, like, I look at myself in the beginning and I'm insecure about some of it because I feel like I was a bit crazy, you know, and I used to fight, like I used to get angry. Like I'll talk to somebody, I'll put a microphone and then they'll say something ridiculous and I'll be like, I just really, you could see it in my vein. I have a vein everybody talks about on my neck.
Oh, then it comes out?
It comes out. It's like I just really want to punch this person into reality. Yeah. And then later I learned to kind of, just like I said, hand them the rope and they'll hang themselves and kind of be more, because if you know me, you know I'm a clown. Like I enjoy, in Australia we're larrikins. That's what, like we joke around about everything. We joke about anything, everything. You know, some Jews get uncomfortable about my jokes because I'll joke about
everything.
Like I'll make Jewish jokes because I think we need to be able to laugh at ourselves. I think comedy is the best way to get, you know, through things.
Oh my God, satire is the best.
Satire is the best way. So if you ask me, what's my favourite? I'll say, like, there was a video I did not long ago where it was about climate change, which is probably one of my least, like, I'm least interested in the topic.
Right.
But it's probably one of my favourite because, like, you know, you had a guy there who's bringing it, that it was meant to be like a children, I don't know if you saw it, it was like a...
I didn't see it.
It was like... They were selling it as this, like, kids run... Like, all these kids took a day off school to run protests across the country for climate change.
Okay.
So I went there and I just asked them questions.
Right.
You know, I didn't ask the kid. I was avoiding the kids. The only kid I interviewed was the so-called like leader of it.
Okay.
But I avoided the kids because I didn't even need the kids. The parents had no idea what they were doing there. You know what I mean? Like, and like one of the guys was like, "I'm a scientist." It was probably one of the best moments in any of my videos. He goes, "I'm a scientist. I know what I'm talking about." Okay. He goes, he says to me, "It's not about human caused," or I can't remember his wording, but you can go and look at it. It's not the fact that it's human caused and we need 100% renewables. I said to him, but so if it's not, like, if it's not made, if it's not man-made, then why do we need, like, how's
what are you protesting against?
What is 100% renewables gonna help if it's not man-made? And he goes, he just has this blank stare at me. "It will matter." I go, "But you're a scientist. How does it matter?" And to me, that's the most entertaining because that's the most me. Yeah. Whereas, like, you know, I've had some fun ones where you engage, you know, like I went down only a few months ago, but I did get quite fired up. And if you watch the escalation of it, and that one I did live. This one was a live video where I went to the site. You know, somebody calls me and goes, there was a terrorist attack a few months ago in Melbourne, in my city, on one of the main streets in Burke Street, in a mall. Well, it's like a street mall. And the next few days later, there was one of these, what do they call them? Dawa stands.
I don't even know what that is.
That's
when they teach about...
So Dawa is their niftoim.
They're right. It's their proselytizing about Islam on the street.
Okay. And you can argue they should be allowed to do it, whatever, and in a free country you should be able to talk about anything. But I'm saying it's on the corner where the guy murdered like an Australian, tried to kill.
Got it. So here's what terror attack in the name of the ideology of Islam, and at that exact place, you're having these Muslims teaching others about.
So I went there, and I said, I'm going to ask him, don't you find it disrespectful to come here to the place where your
in the name of your religion,
ideology, like it just happened, it's fresh, it's like. And you watch the escalation of it, and at the end of the video...
Gotta see this, yeah.
The end of the video... I'll share it to you. You'll love it for all yours.
Sure.
At the end of the video, and it's about 11 minutes, and it's beautiful, and it was all live, so I didn't cut anything. You know, they tried to cut it after and save face and say, you see, we exposed the Zionists. At the end of the video, because they're very good at first acting like they're decent, reasonable people. At the end of the video, when you see him fire up and get angry, he goes, you Jews are the biggest terrorists. And that is the fundamental issue here. You have these so-called moderates and this guy that I found out later, he's like the biggest name within moderate Islam in Australia. He's like the poster boy. He believes that the Jews are the biggest terrorists in the world.
Right, that's moderate.
And that is moderate. So he justifies everything that happens, like that these so-called, he'll call them extremists. No, he actually didn't. He did not. Sorry, I'll correct that. Watch the video. He calls them mentally ill people that have nothing to do with Islam, and just read The Guardian, because The Guardian confirms what he says. Like the article, he quotes articles within this, which are all like, far left-wing appeasing. Anyways, the bottom line is I think if we have a final point.
I have one final question, but this leads to it, yeah?
I think the Jewish perspective, and I think Israel, and I think Israelis are the best, the best place to put the Jewish perspective forward without the whole elitist thing, is to turn around and go, look at history. History shows you that appeasing no matter what evil ideology never works out.
It makes the situation worse.
Absolutely. It empowers, emboldens, and the day will come. The day will come not only because you're appeasing, but because their scripture tells them it will come.
Right. So you touched upon Australia, and I want to finish that specifically with Australia, because just recently you brought up a terror attack in Melbourne, and just a few days ago, I don't know if you heard, there was violence by Muslim migrants on Chelsea Beach that I've been reading up. And
look, I don't know if Chelsea. We have a problem with Sudanese gangs.
It was saying it was Turkish and Lebanese.
So those ones would have been Muslim gangs. Yes, you know what? I've been on holiday. And
I can't. Well, take the specifics out of it. But I just want to. Can you give us an explanation? Because usually we know about the Muslim migrant problem in Europe. I believe America is 10, 15 years behind Europe. Whatever's happening there, unless Trump totally stops it, which he won't be able to. The way we see in Europe today, we're going to be seeing in America.
Absolutely.
And where does Australia stand on this pattern of not being able to defend itself from the incoming Islamic ideological culture that's affecting the freedom-loving, fun-loving, Australian carefree attitude towards life?
Come with me to some neighbourhoods in my city, or in Sydney, or in Adelaide, and you'll see where it's going. It's going in exactly the same direction. And what frustrates me is that it's like Australia is behind everyone. You know, we're an island. We're far away. We have, we're a small nation, and we have a chance. We have a chance to look at the rest of the world. We have a chance to see what happens when you open your borders. And it's basic mathematics. 1 + 1 does equal 2, and it's been proven so. But again, there's a good voting bloc within the Islamic communities. There's, I think there are within politics. People have different reasons why they go down that path. You have those that are just appeasing because they want the votes, and you have those that are there are well-meaning lefties that
they're naive.
They're naive. And they do it because they think, they judge those cultures as if they come from exactly the same background. They're judging it from their perspective. They don't realize, hold on, if you want to understand them, get into their world for a moment, and then look at it. Right. You know, like I dated she was a real sweet immigration lawyer. And she used to volunteer her time at the one of these immigration centers. Right. And she turned to me, like, she disagreed with a lot of my politics. Right. And she turned to me, she goes, listen, Avi, if you were standing at the border now, and a Syrian family came in now, you know, the burqa, but you knew their story, and their story was horrific and painful and the worst of the worst, and you knew they were good, or you thought they were good people, it doesn't matter. You never know. But you just looked at them and you felt their pain and sorrow and you understood it. Would you let them in or not? I said, this is the problem with your politics. You're telling me. I go, I'm a softie. I am the biggest softie. I know maybe if you watch my videos you won't believe it. But I'm a soft person. Like, my heart bleeds for people. And if you put a family that's in, like, that I know what they've been through, I'm going to tell you to let them in because I got a heart. But that's the problem with your politics. You want to base the future of our country on a everything on a bleeding heart rather than a logical brain. And that's the problem, is that you're not helping them and you're not helping us, because all you're doing when you do that, you're letting them in and every other one, because everybody at the door is like, oh, that's a sad story, and you let them in. All you're doing is you're turning our country
into the country they ran away from.
And you know, it was funny in New York. I went around asking people what they think about Trump. You know what I found is local New Yorkers hate Trump. Whatever. You know who loved Trump? Who? All the immigrants. And I turned around and I go, like, I was like, what?
Right. The native white New York
whether they're white, brown, black, it didn't matter. The New Yorkers, the immigrants, and I turned to them, I go, why? They go, we escaped that shithole. They literally use his language. They go, oh, we escaped that shithole. Why would we want to bring it in? And
exactly.
That's not a politically correct way to say it, but it is the truth.
That's totally true. You really.
And the Dalai Lama said it. He triggered the entire leftist community. The fact is that if you want to help these people, which I think as humans we should, I don't think we should let people suffer and ignore them. I think instead of putting all our money and our resources to bring them and ruining our countries, help them in their own lands.
True.
100%.
Anyway. There is so much more to talk about, guys. It's been a real pleasure to sit here and speak with Avi Yemini, Australia's proudest Jew. If you have not seen his videos yet, check him out. YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. He's all over the place. A strong, strong voice. Whether you agree with everything or you don't, doesn't make a difference. He is a strong voice out there trying to educate people to hold on to their identity and stand up for the truth and educate themselves so that we can protect ourselves. Avi, it's a pleasure having you here in the Holy Land, man.
Thank you, brother.
And I look forward to doing a lot of great things with you, whether locally or not locally. And keep up the great work.
Any excuse to come to Israel, though.
Amen. Amen. Everyone, thanks for watching. Shalom
Thank you,
from
guys.
the ancestral Jewish homeland, our holy capital, Jerusalem. Take care.
Eternal.